what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Alex, and if you are new here, I talk about a lot of movies and, on occasion, video games. And today, I'm going to be talking about the new M Night Shymalan movie, Knock at the Cabin. While vacationing at a remote cabin, a young girl and her parents are taken hostage by four armed strangers who demand that the family make an unthinkable choice to avert the apocalypse. With limited access to the outside world, the family must decide what they believe before all is lost. Now, I'll say it right now, I'm not the biggest fan of M. Night Shyamalan. I think early in his career, his first three movies are great. Signs, Unbreakable, The Sixth Sense, my personal favorite being Signs out of all those. Those were movies where it was like, okay, Shyamalan's a great up-and-coming filmmaker, and then he sort of fell off the ladder after that, where he made The Village, which, I mean, is okay. It's not terrible, but it's by no means as good as those three, and then Lady in the Water, and then that we don't talk about. He also made The Happening in there, which is horrible. Came back with Split. Split I was kind of split on, no pun intended. I know that was kind of like his comeback. I didn't really see it like that. Didn't see The Visit. Glass, I guess I'm just going through his whole filmography now. Didn't see Old. So I was actually really curious because this was getting some great early buzz, and I said, okay, maybe the old Shyamalan is back. And I'll just put it this way, I don't think Shyamalan's for me anymore. I don't think he really has it as a filmmaker anymore. I'm sorry. Again, just take this as my opinion because this is so different from what's out there, from what I've heard so far about this movie, and I feel like I'm in the minority, and that's okay, you know? I mean, everybody has different opinions on film. Film is subjective, but this movie just didn't work for me. I was excited to see, or at least intrigued to see that he had co-writers for the script for this movie, but then reading into the background of the production, it was stated that Shyamalan actually rewrote the script from those writers. This movie is actually based on a 2018 novel, and so I was curious after I had watched the movie what the differences of the novel were, and so I read the plot of that novel, and most of it's the same, but there's so many big differences, and this screenplay by Shyamalan, you can tell is an M. Night Shyamalan screenplay, at least a screenplay from his more recent movies, at least the ones that I would say from The Happening on, or Lady in the Water on, maybe excluding a couple of them, like Split, because I actually do think Split was a pretty solid screenplay. I just didn't like some of the directing and some of the choices he made, and I don't like his directing here. There's an overemphasis on close-ups in this movie, and it just got to the point where it was borderline annoying. There's literally a shot where there's a close-up of Dave Bautista's mouth, and you don't see anything above the mouth. Imagine this. What does this look like right now? Does this look appealing at all? Not really. In those close-ups, the background is always blurred out, and at the beginning, he was shooting those close-ups with Dutch angles. That was a bit jarring, and he didn't do that for the rest of the movie. So there's things in here where I just feel like he lost his game a little bit. Doesn't know how to frame shots anymore, and the use of ADR in this movie was really getting on my nerves as well. There was so much of it. It was almost as if he felt like he didn't want to shoot the actors saying their dialogue, and a lot of the dialogue is said when the character is off screen, so that's where a lot of the ADR comes in. And some of it works, some of it I get, some of it has to be there, and when it has to be there, it works, but there's so many moments in this movie where the ADR is not even needed, and he uses the ADR because it seemed like he just didn't want to shoot the actor in frame and instead just had the actor off screen, and then they just audio dub their dialogue in. What the hell was that? Speaking of the dialogue, it's what I feel M. Night Shyamalan dialogue has been for years now, and it is very stilted. It's almost as if it's time wasting. There's some things in here where you're just like, why are you even saying this right now? Like, this isn't getting us anywhere. And when you see some of the dialogue coming off of the actors' mouths, or coming out of the actors' mouths, you look at some of the acting in this movie and you say, you're definitely overdoing it. Jonathan Groff, I thought, was really great. Dave Bautista, I thought, was on and off throughout the movie, but he's purposely monotone, and I understand why he's purposely monotone. He's got this one tone of voice throughout the entire thing, because his whole philosophy is, we're trying to prevent something, we're not here to kill you, but you have to help us. But his tone of voice never changes throughout. It seems he's very calm and collected, and even though they are essentially killers, he keeps his cool throughout the entire movie, and I think he actually did a pretty good job at that. There's some moments where I'm like, I think Bautista could have tapped into his full potential like he's done before in other movies, Rupert Grint. It was nice to see Rupert Grint back on screen after a while. He was the one who gave the best performance in his limited screen time, but the actor who played Eric, I thought, was really overdoing it. He was talking so fast to the point where I missed a lot of what he was actually trying to say. Like, I get he's trying to act frantic and scared, but I think he was overdoing it. It was either Eric or Andrew. I forget which one was which, but whichever one it was I thought was overdoing it a lot. That feels like Shyamalan doesn't do separate takes. It seems like he just goes with one take and that's it. And of course, it's a Shyamalan movie, so it's got to have this elaborate twist. The twist didn't work for me, especially after reading the synopsis of the actual plot of the book. How some things were changed around and what actually happens in the book and how it comes connecting back to everything. And it's a typical Shyamalan twist that I didn't buy. Even though the hints were there, I didn't buy it. If there are any positives for this movie, like I said, I liked some of the performances, not all of them, but some of them were solid to good. There's tension that Shyamalan builds up pretty well. I mean, it's one of his few R-rated movies. When people are actually gonna be killed, you're just like, oh my god, like what the hell are they gonna do? Like, the build up to those moments is pretty well staged. I gotta give him credit for that. And to a certain extent, it's an interesting enough idea that I think will hold a lot of attention for a lot of viewers. But for me, there were points with this movie where I did start to check out, and once that twist came, I wasn't on the boat anymore. I was off the island. I wasn't sold. It's just not one of his best ones. I'm not saying this because I don't like M Night Shyamalan. I'm always curious to see, because I think he's a great ideas man. It's just the execution isn't there half the time. I'm going to say I enjoyed Knock at the Cabin with stale popcorn. I just don't see it, guys. I'm sorry. This is one where I said to myself, maybe this is the one where I can get back on Shyamalan's side. The early buzz for it was really good, and that got me hyped, and then I just sat there in the theater, and I didn't like what I had seen. I just thought it wasn't as well made as previous Shyamalan movies, especially those early three in his career when he first started making movies. I don't know where that Shyamalan went. I want that Shyamalan to come back. So if you guys have seen Knock at the Cabin, I want to know what you thought about it. Drop me some feedback in the comment section below. I'll leave my link to my website in the description below as well. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden, and I will see you at the movies somewhere.